Well, hello there. I'm live and welcome to my book talk. I really should come up with a better title, but I also think that sometimes being creative or too creative can confuse the message. So, this is my live stream and we're going to talk about books, right? So, it's book talk. I'm sure someone else has got that. I'll probably get like a cease and desist from somebody who of the 8 billion people on the planet, probably someone else has a show or something called book talk. But anyway, this is my YouTube channel and my YouTube show, or what I call my live stream, in which we talk about books. Now, if you don't know who I am, my name is Cody C. Engdahl. I am the author of 6 books, 4 of which are novels. There's about to be a 5th novel coming up pretty soon, and then 2 nonfiction works. You can find them all on Amazon. In fact, the link is in the description below. Excuse me while I take a drink of water. As you can see, I have not. Okay, we are doing this at a completely different time than usual. I have been doing this on Sunday night around 7 o'clock, but I will tell you that was never like I haven't like decided like this show or whatever this is that I'm doing is going to be officially at this time. It just seems to be because I got so much I got to do on the weekend that it's like the time I get to it that I'm able to go on. And I very much want to do this at least once a week because I would like to build up my channel. So saying that, please give me a like, give me a comment, and subscribe. I think once I get 1,000 subscriber, I actually can start getting paid from YouTube, which would be great. Anyway, normally I do this on Sunday night. The reason why I'm doing it now is because I just got done being interviewed on a podcast, and I had to set up my studio. Now, okay, I mean it's not much of a studio, right? But it's still a little bit of an effort. So if you don't know my setup here, I am using my MacBook Air, and I have to because, and I'll tell you this: anybody who is putting themselves on camera or is a photographer, shooting, you want to have the camera to be at least at eye level with your subject, or maybe a little higher. It's a better angle. People look better at that angle. And I struggle with this because I tend to be, I'm 6'2". And I ask people, like a lot of times you see me at events and I'm selling books, and all day long you see me, taking pictures with people. I can't stand when people say, okay, and they take the picture and I'm like, no, could you bring the camera up? Because I'd rather you shoot down at me than shoot up at my double chin. So anyway, I have like a bunch of books and an old record player that I stack on my table, and then I put my computer on it. And then I got a light. I know it doesn't seem like much. And I mean, right now it's daylight. Usually it's dark when I do this. In fact, does that look better? That's too much. Yeah. I think that waste that off a little bit. I guess that's my key light. Yeah, this is mirror image. That's my key light over there. But I have a studio light as well that I keep in my office. And my office isn't set up. It's like mostly just things in boxes and no desk. But there's a bookshelf in there. But I have a studio light or basically a field light, so like a light stand and a professional light back from my television days. And I bring that out there because you really should have good light on your face before you do, you go live. So anyway, I was on a podcast, or I was interviewed, and I'm going to be on a podcast, and I'm very excited about that. I love doing podcast interviews. This will be I believe, I don't know how many, because I've been on a few more than once. I think the first podcast I was ever on was Paul Hosa's Untold Civil War. In fact, that's how I got onto the one I am today. But I've been on his podcast twice. I've been on Daz's, Darren Rawlings' American Civil War and UK History podcast. I've been on Books 101 multiple times. That one, I think I've been on there. Well, I've been on there 6 times. And then today I was on. Well, here, let me just bring this up there so you can look at something other than my ugly face. I was on this podcast here. It's called The Commander's Voice, and like a lot of podcasters, Ben Powers is the host. He and I think this is really smart. He not only does his, it's not only a podcast that is on, that you get wherever you get your podcast from, like Apple Tunes or Apple Podcast, or now I can't think. I'm drawing a blank, but all the different places you can get your podcast. But he also shoots it as a video. We did it through Zoom. And so not only can he put out his podcast, but he can also put it out as a video on YouTube. And so therefore you're getting people in multiple places. And I really believe in this theory because in the end, you're not really loyal to a platform. You're loyal to your listeners, your audience. And so you might as well go to where your audience is. And so if you can do this on multiple platforms, that's great. So some people prefer to listen to things on podcasts, and some people prefer to do to watch it on YouTube. I do both. There's a lot of YouTubers that I like to, and it's funny because I mostly listen to YouTubers. There's a bunch of them that I subscribe to that on any given day, if I'm doing something, menial, I'll load up a bunch of them in the queue and I'll just listen to one after the other. Please don't hate me. It's mostly YouTubers complaining about modern day pop culture being too woke. That's what I like to listen to. Sorry, I just enjoy the rants and the drama, the unnecessary drama, but it's funny to me and it's fun. And nothing against woke stuff. If you like that stuff, that's great. More power to you. So anyway, yeah, he's on both those things. The Commander's Voice is Ben. Ben Powers is a veteran. I think I know he served in the 88nd Division, airborne division, one that I really wanted to be in. When I joined the Army, I couldn't get that guaranteed, but I did get what's called the airborne option, which meant that I was guaranteed that I would go to airborne school after basic training, but it did not guarantee that I would be in an airborne unit. And so, and I did, I went through basic training, and then right after basic training, went to airborne school, which I think is probably the best way to do it, because airborne school is very vigorous. It's one of those things where if you drop out, you don't get invited back. And so you gotta, this is your shot. It's 3 weeks, it's 3 weeks of intense training, both physical and of course the technical training of jumping out of airplanes, which is really mostly teaching you how to land. I mean, jumping out of airplanes, there's some things you should know, but it's mostly about how not to die when you land. And then I was supposed to go to Fort Carson, which is I believe the 4th Infantry at Fort Carson, Colorado. And it was, I think it was a mechanized unit, probably Bradley's. While I was in while I was in airborne school, my orders got changed, and I was in when the military was contracting. And so instead of going to Fort Carson, I ended up going to Fort Campbell, which is the 101st Airborne or Air Assault Division, which is why I ended up here in Tennessee, because Fort Campbell is technically on the border on the border. It's in, I think the mailbox is in Kentucky, so it's considered Fort Campbell, Kentucky, but most of it lies in Tennessee. And, just a long story short, I got out of the Army and I went to Austin P in Tennessee, which is in Clarksville, which is kind of like the town that surrounds. It's the military town, the town that surrounds the base, and then the rest is history. Of course, I go through the whole thing because I ended up finally going back to Detroit and then living all over the world, and then coming back here, and that's where I am today. But anyway, the podcast is, he talks it's a lot about military history. Originally, I think his focus was on like airborne stuff from like World War II to today, but then he's expanded to do a lot of things, including the American Civil War and maybe military history in general. That might be a direction he's going, but I do know that he talks about airborne stuff. He talks about World War II, and he talks about the Civil War. So he had heard me on the Untold American Civil War with Paul Hosa. And I was very proud of that one too, because Paul had asked me, so my last book that came out was Mexico, My Love. And Paul had asked me to come on his show and talk about Civil War leaders, Civil War generals who served in the Mexican War. And I told him, I said, look, just so you know, my book is actually from the Mexican perspective. Grant is in it, but I will still do that for you. So I spent about a week, just did nothing but work on this, do a bunch of research. I picked 4 Civil War generals and then and then researched them about their stories in the Mexican War, and then talked about that in that podcast. I'm very proud of it. I think it's one of my best performances on a podcast until today. No, just kidding. But so anyway, Ben Powers of the Commander's Voice sent me an email, and he said, "Hey, I heard you on the Untold Civil War. Would you be interested in coming on my podcast?" And it's absolutely. And this is what I really love. This is how things work. This is how you promote yourself. This is how you grow your brand. Is every time you do something, it leads to something else. So I get on. In fact, I'm pretty sure. I think I got on the American Civil War and UK history because Daz heard me on the Untold Civil War, and then I got on the podcast that I did today because of that. So the more you get out there onto podcast interviews, more people hear you, and then other people want to get you on the show. And I'll give you a secret. This you got to think about this, okay? Because when you're a writer, you're not just a content creator just spitting out books about whatever. They can get AI to do that. And that's why I'm not afraid of AI, because AI is never going to replace me, because there's only one Cody Cienga. Sure, AI can write a pretty good book, probably, I don't know, but it can't be me. And people follow authors because they like them, and they can get Civil War novels from anybody, from AI, but they might get them from me because they like my writing. And I really do think that. I think that you got to be the brand. And so you have to remember that every time you do something, whether it's a book signing, whether it's a lecture you're giving, or an appearance on a podcast or a YouTube show, that you are the product and you are promoting yourself. And so you want to go on there, you want to be active, don't be obnoxious, don't be over the top, but you want to smile, you want to be engaging, you want to and always be excited to be there. I think that's really important, and people will feed into that. The host will feed into that. I've seen guys on podcasts, or heard guys on podcasts or on live streams. They're like, yeah, so I don't know. I wrote the book, and hopefully it'll sell. And of course, if it doesn't sell, I can go back to my other books. No. You got, I've said this many times, is if you don't think you're awesome, how are you going to convince anybody else that you're awesome? You have to come with the energy. Don't be an arrogant bastard. Just be a confident bastard. and be a fun one. And it's okay to be self-effacing and make fun of yourself. People are like that, but don't do it in a cruel way or in a way that is eliciting people to say, "Oh no, you're not that bad. You're okay." You don't want that. You can have a little fun. You can make jokes, but you know what I'm saying. So you got to think about that, because the podcast that you're on might get you the next podcast interview. And like I said, because I've been on the Untold Civil War, I've been on 2 other podcasts because of that. And hopefully when this comes out, I will be on more, because a lot of podcasters listen to other podcasts, and a lot of times they find people that they've heard. And if they hear like, this guy is a good guest. And that's the other thing too, is that when podcasters and YouTubers are looking for content, they're looking for someone to help carry the load. So you want to be interesting, and and there's a nice Goldilocks here. You don't want to be overwhelming. You don't want to like dominate or anything like that, but you want to be engaging. You want to be interesting, have good things to say, be likable, because in the end, we're not curing cancer here. We're creating entertainment. And even historical novels, it's entertainment. Yeah, you're going to learn something, especially if the historical novelist takes great pains, like I do, to make sure that the historical aspects of your book is correct. Then you might teach them something too. But the very first thing is you got to entertain. And it's the way you make people feel. And if you entertain them with book 1, they'll come back for book 2, and they'll come back for book 3, and also, if you're entertaining on a podcast, you'll be invited back when you have a new book out. You'll get invited onto when people realize that you are good content. Same thing happens with talks. I've done many talks with sons of Union veterans, sons of Confederate veterans, Civil War, roundtables, the Sons of Revolution, and some book clubs as well. And I've done talks, and I got done, talk to people afterwards, and somebody comes up and say, "Hey, would you mind coming and speaking to my group? We meet blah blah blah." Sure. This has also happened at a lot of the Civil War shows that I've done, where I'm a fiddle player, and that always gets me invited to the dance. And so I'm at a Civil War show selling my books, playing my fiddle, and the fiddle attracts people, and they come over and you write books, and they buy a book, But I'll have people say, "Do you do lectures? Do you do talks?" Yes, I do. And I've had, I think, 1 year at the talk in Franklin. I don't think it's the Franklin Civil War show. I think it's the Mid Tennessee. It's always in December. I'll be back there this year. I think I had like 5 or 6 invitations to speak at various Sons of Union or Confederate veterans or the Round Table. So this is how you grow, and this is how you grow your brand. Remember that you are the brand, you are the product, and because anybody can write a book. All it takes is just some dedication and putting in the work. You can write a book, but you got to make people excited about reading it, and you got to make people excited about reading your book, because it's you. See what I'm saying? So anyway, the podcast, we basically, the guy, at first he was like, "I'm going to send you an outline," and then he said, "Well, look, I just want to talk to you, ask you some questions." I think it's because some guests want to know what they're going to be asked and whatever. And he's like, "I just want to talk to you about what you do, the books you write, and your how you run your game and your background and things like that." I said, "Yeah, that's great. I can ask me anything." And then when we met, or he sent me a Zoom link yesterday, and we planned at 1:00 on Central Time. He's in Texas, I'm in Tennessee. Then before he started the recording, he said, he goes, two things. Is there anything you don't want me to ask you about? Which is a fair question. And is there anything you want me to bring up or ask? And I said, yeah, don't ask me about those runaways that I murdered and buried in my backyard. No, I'm just kidding. I said, no, you can ask me anything. I mean, I'm an open book. There's nothing that's off limits with me. And then, and I said, I mean, we can talk about, I got a book coming out, and, if you want to talk about it or ask me about it. And I brought it up anyway, so it doesn't matter. But we had a great talk. Ben's a great guy. He's like, we got done. He's like, this is a great interview. He goes, I consider you a friend. I said, yeah, me too. And I'm looking forward to a long friendship with Ben. And I like what he's doing. And he asked me, first of all, I'm a talker. So if you're looking for content, I mean, look at me. Here I am live streaming by myself, and I'll fill up probably an hour of me talking about myself. But he asked me just like, how I got into writing. He asked me about why the American Civil War, why the Western Theater, asked me about some of my process of researching and what I'm doing next, what are my plans, just that kind of stuff. It was a good conversation. I got to plug my stuff. In fact, he goes, I'm really excited. I'm going straight from here to Amazon. I'm going to get your book. And he, I told his listeners, I think he's got 500 subscribers. That's very exciting. So hopefully I get to reach 500 people, and we'll see what that does in book sales. I will also, when it comes out, and he told me it's going to come out probably Wednesday. When it comes out, then, I mean, this is how everything works, and you build brands, because in return, when it comes out, I'm going to share the podcast, as I always do, with all my audience. So I'm going to share it on Facebook, on my personal profile, Engdahl House of Readers and Writers, which is my group, and my Engdahl House page, which is basically my doing business as company Facebook page. I'll tweet it out, and I'll probably put it on LinkedIn. And it's hard to do that stuff on Instagram. I still don't get Instagram. I mean, I post on Instagram. All my videos and photos go through Instagram. The stuff I post on Facebook is by way of Instagram. And the only reason why I do that is because Instagram allows you to post on both at the same time. So it just saves me a step. So instead of like posting on Instagram, then posting on Facebook, then posting on Twitter, I can at least on Instagram have it set up that everything I post on Instagram automatically goes onto Facebook. Feeding two birds with one scone. is a sometimes some of the political correctness stuff is funny to me, and Laura and I always laugh at this because someone was talking about like taking the violence out of everyday sayings, and one of them was killing two birds with one stone. So instead of saying killing two birds with one stone, because no one wants to kill a bird, you can say feeding two birds with one scone. So we always say that, with a bit of irony, because it's ridiculous. Anyway, not that I agree with killing birds with stones, but that's the saying. I'm not afraid to say it. So anyway, that podcast will come out on Wednesday. I think the Commander's Voice is a very interesting channel and podcaster. So give them a subscription on Facebook if you're interested in that, or subscribe to their podcast. As for me, let's see what's going on with me. What's coming up next? Let me look at my calendar here. Actually, I have two calendars. I have kind of a list of everything that's coming up, and then I also have a regular calendar. So First of all, Rampage on the River is going to be 99 cents in the U.S. When my KDP contract renews the 23rd of November, I'm going to be running 99 cents on Rampage on the River for a week, and then 99 pence in the UK for a week. That one I will probably also run an ad on Facebook, because that one, more than any of the other ones, it's important to advertise, because that's book one of my series. And you can read any of my books out of order. I wrote them with the idea that the reader may be coming in fresh and had never read any of my other books. But it is book one of the series. And so the more people you get to read book one, it's the opening of the funnel. So you want to get people into book one so they buy book two, book three, book four, and soon book five. So book five, The Prussian Prince. I need to get the I don't want to go looking for it now because it'll just bore you to death, but I need to show you the cover. Maybe we'll do we'll show, I've already revealed it, but and it's still got some work to be done with it, but I think once I get the rough draft finished, I'll probably do something, maybe another live where I'll share some things about it. But where I am with that, I finished the narrative of the book. So the story's done. I'm writing the epilogue, and the epilogue is, think of the epilogue as like if you're watching a Marvel movie and you watch the credits, and then at the end of the credits, they have a scene, a post-credit scene. It's a little trick. I can't remember when they started doing this, but now it's just become like expected that you sit through the credits because there's going to be some little thing. So I use my epilogue that way. So the epilogue is a tease. It's not a preview. It's just a tease. Like, it sets up the following book, and the following book is going to be it's going to feature the Franco-Prussian War. So the epilogue has a scene between Otto von Bismarck and the French ambassador at the conclusion of the Austro-Prussian War. France, just to simplify this, France felt like they deserved some of the territory won by Prussia for staying out of the fight, because France basically made a promise to Bismarck, we'll stay out of this, so don't worry about us, coming to the aid of Austria. And then they felt like they deserved something for that. And Otto von Bismarck said, no, you don't deserve anything. And then there was a threat of war. And once that threat was made, Bismarck was like, great, it's war then. And and the French ambassador was like, oh, wait a minute, let's not get too hasty. And it wasn't war right away. That would have been in August 6th of 1866. But the war would be coming within the next 4 years. 1870 is the beginning of the Franco-Prussian War. So I like that scene in which the French ambassador threatens war, and Otto von Bismarck says, great, it's war then. So I had to do a lot of research, because Mike Duncan, in his podcast, the podcast called Revolutions, mentioned it. And he even said in it, he said, and quote, Otto von Bismarck said, and I quote, good, then it's war. And I was like, okay, that's a great scene. Where did that happen? Who was the French ambassador? So I tweeted. Now Mike Dunk is a big deal, and I tweeted at him. I said, "Hey, and I love what you do in episode 8.2. You talked about da da da. Can you point me to where I might read more about this?" He, Mike, I'm still waiting for a reply. But I did the work. I had a hard time finding it, but I just, I dug deep. It took me several days of searching. I've heard it mentioned, but I wanted details. I wanted to know who, where, and when, and in as much detail as possible. I finally found a book. I found that Otto von Bismarck referred to it himself in a speech that he made to the Reichstag in 1871. And he talks about, and he gave the date. He said it was August 6, 1866. And he tells the story, but very briefly. So that gave me a date. And so then I was able to, and then it was easy to find out it's Vincent Venditti is the French ambassador. He's actually Greek. He's a Greek man with an Italian name, and he's the ambassador for France. So that was easy to find out. And then I think I finally just searching, Wikipedia is a good place to start because Wikipedia has its sources. Like if you read a Wikipedia article, there'll be footnotes, and then you follow the footnote and it'll take you to the book where it is. So I think I found there was a biography about Bismarck that was published in like 1970. I couldn't find that, but I found another one, and that one had it, and that it was at there was a Bismarck Palace in Berlin, and this took place at that palace. So and it had more detail in it too. For example, I had first pictured a French ambassador being kind of arrogant and trying to bully von Bismarck by making the threat, but that's not actually the case, because that threat was really coming from Emperor Louis Napoleon III. Louis Napoleon Bonaparte III basically instructed him to do so, and the guy didn't want to do it because he knew that this wasn't going to fly with the Prussians. You don't threaten Prussians, man. Ask Franz Joseph what happens when you threaten the Prussians. Franz Joseph was the emperor of the defeated Austrian Empire in the Austro-Prussian War. Venditti, I don't know. I'm gonna say Vincent because I don't know if I'm saying his last name correctly, but the French ambassador was really nervous. So he knew that Bismarck had an explosive temper. So he made the threat in a letter, and he sent a letter to him and waited nervously for the reply. When the reply did not come for 2 days, he then decided to pay a visit himself. And that's where, so he goes to Bismarck Palace, asks for a meeting with Bismarck, makes this threat, and Bismarck says, good, it's war then. So anyway, now that I've got that research done, I began to write the scene, and with a very nervous French ambassador, as opposed to an arrogant one, which I think is more historically correct. And also I was able to look up pictures of Vincent and see what he looked like. And sometimes I can infer like a personality if I look at a picture of somebody and just notice the way they hold their eyes, the way they hold their mouths. I feel like I can read faces pretty well, and that's where a lot of my characterizations of real historical figures come from either looking at a painting or a photograph of them. I feel like you can get a lot of personality, and also from reading about them and reading what people wrote about them and things like that, you can get a lot from that too. So anyway, all that to say, I think the rough draft for the Prussian Prince, I got to write the epilogue. I got to write the historical note, the preface, and the acknowledgement, and clean up the glossary a little bit. There's terms in there that are from the last book that are not important in this book. So I think I'll have that done within the next week or so. It just depends on, I'm going to be on the road all next week, so it's hard for me to get a lot of writing done. And then once that's in, it's usually a 2-month process for me to do the editing. I go through my own rigorous editing process, and then I hand it off to Laura, who goes through it with a red pen and does a lot of the proofreading, and then we make those corrections, and then I send it off to my mother, and then we publish. I'm looking to publish in the beginning of the year. In January is my goal. I will run a pre-sale. It is recommended by a lot of people to not do that because it can hurt your ranking in your sales ranking if you're not selling a lot of pre-sales. But I still like doing it anyway. So, and this will be the third book that I did a pre-sale, and the last one did better than the first time I did it. So I'd like to see if I can build from there. So, and I feel like I got a lot more. One of the great things that Amazon has done is Amazon is finally showing you how many people are following you as an author, and that has grown over time. I've watched that number go up and up and up. So I have a good number of people who follow me on Amazon. So once I put that pre-sale out, Amazon will email all those people and say, "Hey, this guy that you follow has got a pre-sale. Maybe I'll get some. Maybe I'll get some of those people to do the pre-sale. I'll probably offer it for a very cheap price. I think I'm going to do 99 cents for the. The pre-sale is only for." Or pre-order. I don't know what it's. There's some kind of technical difference between the two. It's only for the Kindle ebook. So I'll probably do 99 cents and try to give people an incentive to pre-order it. When it comes out, it's probably going to be $3.99. So if you are a Kindle reader and you read my stuff and you like it, I recommend you do get it for 99 cents. Yeah, I don't make as much money, but my hope is to build some momentum so that by the time it comes out, the more people who buy it, the more Amazon shows it to people, and it all just kind of builds from there. And then hopefully I get some reviews. It's a big, big, big thing. People need reviews. If you have an author that you like, please review their books. It helps out a lot. I got a couple of my friends. Let's see here let's remove that. I'm still learning how to do stuff here. We're going to, what are we going to do? We're going to present. Okay, we'll stop screen share, and then I'm going to do a different one. Let's see here. Let's do, okay. Well, first of all, let's look at my own book. I mean, this is my stream, right? I get to do whatever I want. So here are my books. Okay. And I got 79 people rating this one, 37 here, 45 and 12 on the last one. I still need, I need reviews for everything. I'd like to have more reviews on this one here. I got two of my friends that have books out recently. Let me go ahead and pimp my friends here. Matthew Harvey is, he's a big deal. And I was really, really surprised and flattered. We have a friend in common who did the covers for my first two books. And because he knew her and knew that she did my cover, he shared something about my book. Now, Matthew does really, really well. He's very well known, especially in like the, sword and shield subgenre of historical fiction. This is his latest book, A Day of Reckoning. It came out in, I think, September 28th. Matthew's a great guy. I have not read it. I did read Kin of Cain. I thought that was great, but I mean, look at these reviews. He's killing it. Great historical fiction from Mary in the United States. Fuzzy Logic Rice Cooker, loved it. Yeah, look at all this. 5-star, 4-star. He's doing pretty well. He's got a couple. Look at that. 60% is 5-star, 28. So that's 88% of people who really liked it. And a lot of people say the most honest are like the 2 through 4 because 5-star and 1-star. And I guarantee this. watch this. 1 star. Look, no review. No review. This drives me crazy. What a coward. Like, if you're going to give somebody a 1 star or even a 2-star review, both of those are considered bad reviews or bad ratings, then you owe it to that person to say why you're giving them a 1 star or a 2-star review. I think it's just very cowardly to just do that and not say why, because you're damaging them. Now, no one can hope for, in fact, if you have a solid 5-star rating, then people are going to be suspicious because they're like, nobody is across the board perfect. You want to be in the 4s. You want to be anything above a 4 is a pretty good book. I've had Rampage on the River slip to 3.9. Thankfully, it's back up to 4, because that's the other thing too. The algorithm is more likely to show people your book if it's 4 stars or above. So I'm right at 4 stars out of 79 people. And let's see if I have any 1-star ratings. I think, yeah, I got 5% 1 star, 6% 2 star. I think the lowest rating I have that has a review is 3 stars. And this guy from Cape Cod gave me 3 stars. He actually said some, and 3 stars is, 3 stars is not bad. 3 stars is over the hump, right? So it's on the better half of the 5-star scale. So it's not terrible. I would say, to me personally, 3 stars means it was good. 4 stars is it was very good. 5 stars, it was fantastic. This guy really doesn't like that I wrote out sound effects, and he also didn't like. He accuses me of using modern language, but I guarantee you, Mr. Cape Cod, everything that the characters say, I like any kind of phrase or saying, I looked it up and to see when did people start saying that. So the 19th century was a long time ago, but it wasn't that long ago. And there's a lot of things that we, like he wrote, look, man, this is my book. Carl says to Klaus, look, man, nothing happened. Your sister has a crush on me. All those things, like calling someone man, absolutely people used that back then, and crush too. So, I feel like that's kind of unfair. But, after like dragging me through the mud, and okay, I'll take in fact, I have backed off on writing out sound effects because of this guy. But after he drags me through the mud, he does say the last paragraph, and out of spite, I've used some of this in some of my marketing quotes from this 3-star review. He says, however, the writer hits the mark with the action sequences minus the sound effects. Okay. And it was evident that even though he did a lot of research, he didn't do a research dump. He had just the right amount of detail to create a window into the past and bring those sections alive. That isn't easy to do, and he did it seamlessly. Wow, that's a great compliment. Now, you have to hear all these terrible things about me first before you, God, that'd be great if he got rid of all this. We got, we can, maybe we could just get rid of this. This would be a great review. If we got rid of the part I highlighted, I can live with that. So anyway, let's move on. Another friend of mine, and I may be too generous with myself. I consider these guys friends. These guys are big shots. So, and they're very nice to me. Stephen Mackay is, now this is, I'm very interested in this, and I was tempted to read it and to give the guy a review, and I still may. It's just I'm so backed up because he is really asking for reviews because he needs them, and he's only got 12 people that rate it so far. But this is Steve Mackay. He what makes me very interested about this is that Stephen was I think he's got two series. He's got a Robin Hood series, and then he's got his own character named Bellicus, who's a Celtic druid, and he's been an independent author his entire career. So everything, and he's got some standalone novels too. And he's pretty prolific. He's got quite a few novels. In fact, let's see if we can do this easily. Let's go to his author page. Let's see. Let's do all books. And yeah, so why is this not easy? All right, there we go. Yeah, I mean, look at all this. So this is his latest book right here, but he's got the Forest Lord collection. That's the box set. The Forest Lord is his take on Robin Hood, and and then he's got a Druid series. The Wrath of the Picts is book 5 of the Warrior Druid of Britain series, and the Forest Lord series is the Robin Hood. He's got this standalone about a Roman slave called Lucia. Let's see here. Sworn to God, is that? It's related to the Forest Lord. Okay, so it's a peripheral. He's got Death of an Abbey, which is a single. He's got one called Over the Wall, which the Nashville Public Library has the audio version of that. So I'm going to listen to it. I'm very excited about it. But all this, he's done quite a bit of work here. House in the Marsh is a novella. He's got quite a few, quite prolific. He's got some short singles, like a Christmas one. Yeah, he's written a lot. All of this is published independent. I think this is a modern one, actually, called Have You Seen This? So his story is, and this is one of the reasons why I've thought about jumping on reading his book and reviewing it right away. The Heathen Horde is the first book he's had published commercially. And what happened is that he reviewed a book that's published by another book published by Canelo, who's the publisher. And apparently they saw his review, liked it, saw that he's an author himself, and said, would you be interested in writing a series for us? And he said, sure. And so this is, and they, I can't remember the story of either he picked it or they picked it, but he is writing a series based off of Alfred the Great. And this is the first book. And so I'm really interested in how this goes, because I am an independent author. All my books are published independently. And some people do that their entire career and they love it. They make a ton of money and they have no reason to go commercial at all. But some people do. They have some success as a independent author, and then they get picked up by a commercial publisher, and then they start publishing commercially. This is his first commercially published book. I'm curious to see how it goes. He's got he's down for 3 books with him. I think he's got book 2 already written. I don't know when it's coming out, and then I think he's starting book 3. So anyway, I will say that when you are commercially published, the prices are much higher. And the reason being is when you're an independent or you're your own company, so your profit margins are much wider. And so you can offer your book for cheaper. And that's kind of an advantage that we independents have. We don't have the big marketing arms that the big commercial publishers have. So we can kind of eat their lunch a little bit by offering our books for cheaper. And a lot of times, I mean, I don't know what Stephen's particular deal is or anybody else's, but a lot of times when you're independently published, the royalty's higher because you're not sharing it with anybody else. But Canelo is a company. It's got employees and all that and overhead, so they have to charge more for their book. $5.99. That's still pretty good. I mean, it's cheaper than if you're going to buy something. The paperback is $15.68, and I don't know if they're going to do a hardcover or not. We'll see. But he, it's wow. Look at that. It's ranked 36,000 in the Kindle store. That's pretty good. Anything under 100,000 means you're selling at least a book a day, if not more. I can't remember how. There's a calculator that you can do. It's ranked 27th in ancient historical fiction. I wouldn't call Alfred the Great ancient, but okay. 120th in historical thrillers and 226 more fiction. So he's doing very well. He's got 12 ratings. He's only got, I think, 2. How many reviews? 3. He's got 4. Oh, he's got more. He's got 5. Okay, great. Well, then it's working because he has been on social media asking people to please review his book. So if you want a good novel, you want to learn a bit more about Alfred the Great, and you want a good novel, here's one. It's only $5.99 on the Kindle and the print version. The paperback is under $16. So there you go. And if you do, please give him a review. A review. All right, let's see who else I can talk about here. And then I'll probably get off here pretty soon. I don't want to keep you guys too long. Here's my friend Baptiste Pinsamou. I really like him. If you guys may have seen him because he jumped on one time while we were while I was reviewing his book. I read the first 2 of these. I read Yellow Sky Revolt. I think this is an interesting thing. He's made that one permanently 99 cents to get people into the series. There's going to be many more books. And I read the first 2. They're great. Really like them. I like Pinson Wu a lot. I consider him a friend. Yeah, there he is. Cute little French guy. He's French, but he writes in English. Because I think he says this. Oh, look, he does have somebody reviewing in French. I think I heard him say this. It's just that the reader market in English language is enormous, and it's much bigger than the French market. So it makes more sense to write and publish in English for a French writer. And I've heard that for a lot of languages. Spanish, I would assume, would have a huge market into itself, because I think there are more countries that have Spanish as a native language than almost any other language. But English is the largest language in the world. It depends on the time of day, because I think Mandarin Chinese and English are the 2 biggest languages spoken. And of course, it's because China has such a huge population is why. But English is, we have the native English language speakers, the British, the Irish, the Canadians, the Americans, South Africans, Australians, New Zealanders. You can kind of make an argument for India, and of course there's Hong Kong, which I don't know how long English is going to be the dominant language there. Hong Kong, and I'm trying to think, is there somewhere else? But outside of the native English speaking countries, it is the number one. It's the largest second language in the world, meaning more people speak English as a second language than any other language on the planet. That is absolutely true. And international commerce, aviation, maritime, science, all those fields use English as an intermediary language. For example, and a lot of times in diplomacy too. For example, when Korean and Japanese diplomats get together, they don't speak Korean and they don't speak Japanese. They speak English to each other because it's a neutral language where one side doesn't have the advantage over the other. By the way, if you didn't know this, historically, the Japanese and the Koreans do not get along. Now, today they do. The Japanese and the South Koreans are absolutely allies for sure, but there is still a lot of bad blood, especially because of, I mean, let's just face it, the atrocities committed by the Japanese in World War II is still kind of a sticking point and a point of contention with the Koreans. But that's the past, and most, modern day Japan is a wonderful country full of wonderful people. So's South Korea. It'd be nice if North Korea could be nice too. And hey, wouldn't it be great if the Chinese were also? I mean, like, Chinese people are great. Their government sucks, and I feel for them. I still say one of the bravest men I've ever seen in my lifetime was that man. They call him the Tank Man because no one knows whatever happened to him, but it was the man that stood down the tanks at Tiananmen Square. Like, what absolute utter bravery of that guy. Okay, let's look at someone else. Let's see. Oh, I didn't want to do that. Let's see here. Oh, I could have just put that back up. All right, let's share screen and Amazon. Okay, there we go. Let's see here. I'm still learning how to drive. Let's see. What have I been looking at? Let's see. Oh, okay. Here's a mail-in bill too. You guys, if you've been on this channel, I've had Lloyd on here a couple times. He's this is his. I think this is his latest book. This is a book. I read Mail-in Bill 1. I found it very, very entertaining. This is the second book. It came out in August. He's got a new book coming out. It's not related to the Mail-in Bill series. It's called Malcolm's Bridge. I think that's coming out next year sometime. But Lloyd's local. He does a lot of book signings down in Smyrna. He does like independent bookstores and some libraries. He's done some signings of there. So if you're in the Middle Tennessee area, there's a local author for you to support. And yeah, I think I'll call it there. And bid you all adieu. There won't be a live tomorrow. This is the live here. If you would please give me a like, a thumbs up. I would love a subscription. If I get a 1,000 subscribers, they'll start monetizing my channel. And leave me a comment. I will. I don't get a lot of them, so I'll have plenty of time to reply to your comments. And yeah, keep reading. And it's very important, if you have, especially living authors, if there's a living author that you really like their work, and make sure you give them as many stars as you're willing to give, and write a review. We live and die by our reviews. So put a review on Goodreads and on Amazon. And thank you guys very much. The next time, I meant to do this. Let me take this down. Remove that. The next event that I have that you can come out and see me is, let's see here. Where? Oh, I know, it's over here. Okay. Okay. So in Sunday, the November the 26th, I'm going to be part of it's called it's a commemorative march for the anniversary of the Battle of Franklin. And we have a march that's called the March of Reconciliation. It's where the sons of Confederate veterans a march from one place, and the sons of Union veterans march from another, and we meet and shake hands, and it's a neat thing. I wear the uniform, and I play Dixie for the our Confederate brothers, but I wear a Union uniform because my great grandfather was fought for the Union, um, and I belong to the Sons of Union Veterans. And then that week on Thursday at the Lotes House Museum in Franklin, come there at sunset, and we are, because the 30th is the actual memorial or the actual anniversary, and so we have a candle lighting at sunset, and I will be playing fiddle there. They have signed copies of my books in the gift shop. If you buy one and I'm there and you want me to put a personal message on it, I'll be happy to do so. And also, I believe JT, who owns it, they're going to package some of my books together at a special price and sell them as Christmas gifts. So that's very exciting. I'm very happy he's doing that. So, come out and see me there. I am playing a private party on December the 16th. I need to okay. I got some things I need to add to because I have my calendar, but I also have my a list of gigs that are coming. Let's see. I'm playing Yule Fest at Masker Station. It's on Saturday, the December 2nd. We're playing Christmas tunes. Masker Station is like a fortress that was built in the 18th century. So this is like 1700s. We'll be in costume and we'll be playing. There's an old fort that you can tour, and we're going to be in one of the buildings. There's multiple musical acts, and we're in one, and we'll be playing. It's Paul and me, and we're playing Christmas tunes. I don't know how there is a fee for that. I can't remember what it is. And that weekend. Okay, yeah. I did put it on here. I just have to put it on my other list. The Middle Tennessee, I think it's called the Middle Tennessee Civil War Show, or it might be the Franklin Civil War Show. But this is at the Williamson County Ag Center, and this will be my third year, maybe. But I have a deal I make a deal with the Sons of Union Veterans. I basically pledged to help run the table, and they allow me to play my fiddle, which brings people over, and to sell my books. So I'll be there that whole weekend selling books, but on Saturday I have to leave at 2 because which sucks because that's the best day, but I got to leave at 2 because I have to go play Masker Station. So come out to that Civil War show because I'll actually be signing books and talking to people, and they have live cannon demonstrations. You can buy real certified relics and swords and guns and everything, and it's a great show. I do it every year. I really like it. And then I feel like there's something else. I guess that's it. I know I'm going okay. And then in January, I have a book talk in Germantown, Memphis, at the Sons of Confederate Veterans. I'll have more information. It's open to the public. That's on January the 18th. And I'm going to do basically the same talk that I did on Paul Hose's podcast about I picked about American Civil War generals fighting in the Mexican-American War. That was the podcast that got me on the podcast that I was on today. So, and I'm very happy with that. So I thought that would be a fun one to do for those guys. It'll be the second time that I've been invited there, which is nice. When you go and you do a lecture somewhere and then they invite you back the next year, that means you did a good job. And those guys were great. They bought a bunch of my books. It was well worth my time. Let's see, in February. Oh yeah, and then at the end of February, or the beginning of March, actually March 1st, I will be at the Mid-South Military and Civil War Show. That's March 1st, 2nd, and 3rd. And And not only will I be playing fiddle tunes and selling and signing books, but I will. I'm also going to be one of the speakers this year. So I'm going to do my a brief history of the American Civil War through fiddle tunes. So come out and see me there. And then I think that is it that I have on my on the books. Of course, um, hopefully by that time I will have the Prussian Prince with me, and I'll be selling it, and I'll be well into writing. Um, I think I'm gonna. I think I'm going with Twilight of Empire is the name because of the book I'm writing. Because one of the things I like to do is, all right. So I did the American Civil War trilogy, and that was great, and that was a very American war and experience. When I wrote Mexico My Love, I really wanted to give great Mexican, almost like a love letter to Mexican culture and history. And so, um, and so I wanted to write a very Mexican book. And spoiler alert, that book is from the Mexican perspective. The Mexicans are the good guys in it, and the Americans aren't like evil mustache twirling villains, but they're definitely the antagonist. Um, the Prussian Prince is a very German book. It wanted to delve into German culture and German history and all that kind of stuff. So I thought it'd be fun to now write a book that is very French, a French book, and to get more into the French side of things. And so, as the Prussian Prince is, a lot. It's not about the Crown Prince Friedrich Wilhelm, but he's a prominent figure in it. Um, so the next book is going to be more French focused, and then the book after that, Black James, is going to be a very Caribbean uh, pirate kind of book, and then we're going to do an Egyptian book. This is all within the series, and then after that, I have a Western that I'm planning on, which I'm very excited about. Harvey, who I showed you his book, he's written all like early medieval, Dark Ages kind of stuff, and he has written a Western that's going to come out next year, and that one I am going to read immediately when it comes out and review it. So I'm going to write my own Western a few books from now, and then after that, I don't know if there's going to be any other books in between, but eventually going to do a late 19th century Japanese adventure, and then I'm doing a World War One book, and this series, the series that will be the series finale is the World War One book, and then I'm planning. I have an idea for a World War Two book, and then once I do that, I do have some other ideas that are after World War II, but I think I'd like to back it up again and go back to like the American Revolution. Maybe I have an idea for that, and I have an idea for the the French Revolution, Napoleonic Wars that I'd like to do, and I also have some thoughts about writing like a 1400s kind of early Renaissance book that takes place in the mix of like the Commonwealth of Poland, Lithuania, Holy Roman Empire, Russia, Ottoman Empire kind of stuff that I think would be really fun. And I also have some ideas about like the 30 Years War would be fun too. But anyway, that's all down the road. I definitely am planning on, well, the Prussian Prince is kind of, it's basically written. That's coming. Definitely planning on doing the Twilight of Empire, the Franco-Prussian War, and probably Black James. Those are for sure. Now, if something happens, if I die, I will stop writing, but I'm going to keep writing for sure. I'm never going to stop writing, no matter if I'm, continue to be successful or not. I'll always keep writing. So if you like my stuff, plan on books from me until I die. If a commercial publisher comes to me, throws a bunch of money and says, we want you to write this, then I would give that a go. I would at least try it. If they said, hey, we want you to write more Civil War stuff, I got a few. I put away a few ideas that I could do if that happened, or maybe something else. But I would be. Unless that happens, this is pretty much the plan. Okay, I've bored you guys long enough. Love you. Thank you for hanging out with me and watching. And if you watch this in the replay, give me a thumbs up, leave me a comment. And if you reading my books, give me some stars and a review. All right. Love you guys. See you soon.